Welcome to the East Bank Sports Show, proudly brought to you by the Fanatical Elves, a member of the Fans First Sports Network. Broadcasting live from the vibrant East Bank of the Flats in Cleveland, Ohio. Join us as we delve into the heart of Cleveland sports. It's your hosts, Noah and Matt.
So we start these shows and we normally start happy, but it has been, for somehow and some way, the worst 24 hours to be a Cleveland Browns fan that I think I've ever experienced. I talk a lot about the merch I wear on the show and it making sense and it falling with the themes. Last week I wore a 2016 Central Division Championship shirt from the Cleveland Indians at the time to hype up the fact that we could make a run at the World Series. Shocker, we didn't. But today, I'm proudly wearing this bag over my head on my t-shirt. And no, I'm not alone. Matt is still here with me. I'm just fed up, man. There's been a lot of stuff going on, a lot of things to get into here. Of course, we're going to talk about the Guardians. Unfortunately, they did lose to the Yankees in the ALCS. But I feel like we'd be doing a disservice to Cleveland to not put our hat in the ring to talk about what is going on with the Cleveland Browns following Deshaun Watson officially, it broke today officially, rupturing his Achilles. But before we go on to our negativity and blabber on about how much we, how we feel and what we feel about our team, our fans, our ownership, our coaches, whatever, Matt, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Doing good. I wish I was doing
really?
better.
Yeah.
I'm trying to flip the script, and you're all pessimistic today. Somebody's got to at least try to be optimistic, right?
That's fair enough, but it's kind of hard, and we all kind of know why. It's been floating around on talk radio, on ESPN, with our players, all of that. Deshaun Watson tore his Achilles yesterday in the Cincinnati Bengals game. Fans were cheering. Players were pissed. Ownership in the front office, in my opinion, looked absolutely stupid. This situation was avoidable to an extent. Where do we go from here? Matt, why don't you take us away? Tell me what you think first.
I mean, listen, I think there's a good bit to be said about, the whole fan cheering situation.
Well, no, I want to talk about it because I was there, but I want to hear what your thoughts are on this whole thing, because that's the main point of what's going on with the Browns right now, because it sure as shit is not the product they're putting out on the field. So go ahead.
I mean, it's an ugly look, that's for sure. Regardless of how you feel, it's not a good look for a fan base to be booing its own player after watching a serious injury like that. Now, I get, there is a lot of story to this one specific player. And I see it from both ways. I definitely do. I want to think of it more from like a future effects perspective. Imagine if we go to sign a free agent quarterback. In the back of his mind, he's going to be like, wow, if I don't play good, my own fans are going to root for me to get injured. I don't know about that one.
That's exactly what I think too. Matt, we both have played footballs for extensive time in our lives. Me a little bit more than you, I think. Matt, when did you start playing football?
I started young. I don't remember exactly when, but flag all the way through.
Fair enough. Anyway, regardless, doesn't matter. That's just, to me, something you never do. I don't really care what the background is and stuff. You don't cheer for someone getting hurt. I think it's very classless and tasteless. I do understand why you would and all the reasons behind that, the off the field issues with the man. But, it's crazy. It's crazy that and this isn't the only time this has happened in Cleveland. Matt, me and you were young, but this happened to Tim Couch as well. This happened to Derek Anderson, I believe, was the other quarterback that fans cheered for in situations like this. when they went down. And to me, it's just so tasteless, and it makes us look so bad as a fan base. Now, I get why you would be upset, again, for Deshaun Watson getting injured. So I'm not saying that you're wrong in that thought process, but it just does. It's not a good look for us as the city, regardless. And that's what I don't like about it. I was in the stadium. I
What was that
unfortunately,
like?
yeah, I was unfortunately a person who had tickets for that game, to watch some more ugly football that is, just flat out terrible to watch, on top of having to see all of that. Now, I'm not going to sit here on my high horse and act like I wasn't booing the offense and booing Deshaun before any of this happened, because I was. I'm not going to be. I'm not going to be sugarcoating it. I was upset and I was booing, the team, because what's going on is deplorable. Whether it be Deshaun's fault, the O-line's fault. I was going to say the running backs, but not this week because Nick Chubb was back. The wide receivers' fault, Stefanski's fault, Dorsey's fault, Andrew Berry's fault, whoever's fault you want to put it on. I think the whole stadium was fed up with that product on the field. And I think the thing that makes me the most annoyed and the most pissed off, frankly, about this whole situation with now Myles Garrett, we'll play that video clip in a minute here for you guys that haven't got to see his post-game interview yet. For Myles Garrett to come at the fans, Jameis Winston to come at the fans. And, I'd also say rightfully so, because it's classless to boo someone in a sport when they get hurt, regardless of the background, I feel like. But I think this whole thing was avoidable, man. You go on that 3-game road trip that we were on, and Watson performs horribly. Point blank, period. Did not play good football. You knew what kind of environment you were bringing that man into for that first home game back after all this stuff, after going down to 1-5. You knew what kind of toxic environment you were creating between your players, your fans, your coach, everybody. And it could have been avoided if we just benched the guy, if we just swallowed our pride, whether it was Jimmy, Kevin, Barry, all three of them, one of them, I don't care. If we would have just swallowed our pride, it would have been avoidable. And all of this backlash, the ugliness that is continuing this season, wouldn't have happened. That's what pisses me off.
I truly can't bring myself to understand the reasoning behind continually running Deshaun Watson out onto that field. And look, I don't want to sit here and continue to bash the man because he just went through a brutal injury. What I believe to be a career-ending injury for him.
Yeah, I want to talk about that too, real quick. We'll pause the career-ending conversation. I want to show the Myles Garrett clip, but continue with what you were saying other than that.
I agree with exactly what you just said. I don't get why we continue to do it. A lot of people tend to point fingers at Jimmy. Regardless of who it was, it's a failure on the other two, the other one that wasn't there, or all three of them if they agreed to it, to make themselves look that bad. I mean, up until this point, me and you both have thought Andrew Berry is a fantastic GM. I've been up and down on Kevin. I like to think you've been a Kevin supporter most of the way. I've been a supporter as well.
Yeah, I'm a Stefanski guy for sure.
And then, obviously Jimmy's Jimmy, but whatever. But after this, I don't think either of us aren't sitting here, kind of questioning what's going on with these guys.
Yeah, and I think this is a great time to play the Myles Garrett clip. So I'm going to let that run real quick just to show it and talk about it a little bit, because I think the culture here has just gone completely out of the window. Like, if it wasn't already, I think it's continuously gone downhill. But let me play this video and we'll come back and talk about it.
No one deserves that. I've seen him work his ass off to, get back here and put a smile on his face and, try to put everything that's outside the facility behind him. Death threats, people come to his house, people, you know, going after his family. No, like I said, no one deserves that, and I hate using the word deserves. I'm usually, pretty consistent saying earned. He hadn't earned it, and he doesn't deserve it. Man does pretty much everything right. He's been a model citizen through college and most of the pros. He plays the game as hard as anyone I've seen. Puts everything on the line, willing to throw his body out there, and he plays the game at 100 miles per hour, and there's a risk of being injured, and that he took that risk. But we have to be there for him as a team, as an organization. We can't look down on the guy because of any mistakes on the field or anything off the field. We don't have anything. We don't have any more high ground to look down on the guy.
When he gets injured like that in non-contact.
So I think that's really telling, and I want to shout out Ben Axelrod for that video real quick. That's exactly who I pulled it from, so I want to give credit where credit's due. Browns reporter, been around the organization for a while now. There's been a lot of talk about that quote about calling Deshaun Watson a model citizen, and how much of a kick in the teeth that feels like to some of the fans, especially some of the female fans, because the background. And I know we dance around the subject because it's, there's a lot going on with it and all that. But Matt, I just want to know what you think about him saying that, because I think me and you both are huge Myles Garrett fans and supporters. I don't think that really changes it for me, but the wording of that, man, the wording.
It's really weird to me, the angle he takes in that. There's no reason really to even bring up that line of model citizen. It's unprompted. And then he threw most of the pros, and he just kind of blows right by it. It's just so weird to me that that's the angle he wanted to take, and those are the words he chose. Obviously, I still love the guy, and it's not changing anything for me, like you said, but it did kind of make me go, that's just, the whole thing is kind of awkward.
Do you think it was a PR thing? Because I thought about that for a minute, because Myles got his hands in the pie of Cleveland, right? He's a partial owner of the Cavs. He's the face of the Cleveland Browns franchise. It seems like regardless of whatever happens with the on-the-field product, he's probably here to stay, even though there were rumors today about people calling for Myles Garrett. But, I don't think there's much validity to that still, because why wouldn't you call? If I was Andrew Berry, I'd probably still call the Chiefs once per season to see if they want to get rid of Pat Mahomes for some reason, right? Just for a comparison there. But it almost felt PR to me, because he goes up and says that right off rip and talks about him being a model citizen. And, there's been talks about the locker room not really buying into the Deshaun Watson as a leader thing and playing with their head down. And maybe that was only Amari. And, Amari, of course, goes and catches a touchdown in stride and looks like Amari Cooper for the Bills. And I'm proud and I'm happy for him because he was being wasted here. I don't know. Do you think that was PR-y, though? Do you think maybe that there was some Haslam mischievousness involved?
Honestly, to me, that just kind of feels like I know what I have to do as a professional player here is defend my teammate. So that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. And, I say the Haslams, but it could be an NFLPA thing too. It's just the whole situation to me is so convoluted and twisted. DeJuan Jones said it was classic. There was people Juan Thornhill posted about how classless it was for fans to cheer. And I just think this whole thing was avoidable because you knew what kind of environment you were creating with a guy with that kind of history, with that kind of money, coming back into this city when he wasn't one of ours to begin with, has never performed like he was before for us. So no one cares like they would with a Baker Mayfield or hell, even in some aspects, a Tim Couch or something like that, who still got cheered for when he went down with an injury. It's just baffling to me. I want to talk a little bit about the injury. But first, let's cut us to commercial break just because we're, about halfway there. And I think this is a good stopping point. We'll come back, talk about the Achilles injury, a little bit more Browns. And of course, you're not going to forget the Guardians and their fantastic season, unfortunately, not finishing it in the ALCS. We'll be right back with the East Bank Sports Show. This is Noah. I'm with Matt. We'll talk to you in a minute. And we are back with the East Bank Sports Show. It has been a somber mood here as Cleveland fans the last, 8 weeks or so, or whatever you want to say, as soon as we saw what we saw in Dallas. Matt, I want to know what your thoughts were. You got to watch the game, obviously, at home. I saw it there. My first thought process was either his knee exploded or his Achilles went, just watching it because it was the end zone I was sitting in. I want to know what your thoughts are. Do you think Deshaun Watson is done? Is this it? Did we watch his last snap? I want to hear your thoughts, and then I'll go into some of my statistics on the Achilles and that kind of thing.
I do believe you've watched his last snaps in the NFL as a starting quarterback at the minimum, if not the last snaps on an NFL roster. I mean, he's going to miss the remainder of the year, obviously. I haven't looked into it or read into it on what the odds are, but I wouldn't be surprised if we lean towards just cutting him, eating the cap hit and moving on.
Yeah, let me talk about that for a second. I'll jump in. So to cut him, it would have to be a post-June 1st cut declaration, which still means we're eating like $60 million or something like that in cap. Unfortunately for all of you listening who are on the anti-Deshaun Watson train, I think he's going to be on the roster next year. I do think he'll be a backup quarterback to a rookie and or a DTR, which I want to talk about DTR before we go to the Guardians as well. I don't think they're going to eat it because it makes no sense to eat it. I think they'll keep him on the roster or do something like that. And if they do cut him, I do think that was his last play in the NFL. I think it still could be his last play in the NFL. An article from Yang et al., just giving some reference there again, demonstrated that the overall return to play rate, RTP rate, from an Achilles tear in the NFL is 61.3%. So there's a chance he doesn't return from this. Now, they are saying he's expected to make a full recovery. I just thought that was interesting to know that, maybe it's just time to hang it up. The other part of this I thought was interesting too is, Matt, do you remember Achilles tears being prevalent when we were younger? Because I don't. So 22 NFL players suffered Achilles tears during the 2023 season alone. From 1980 to 2001, the average is about 4 per season. So it has gone up drastically. And some of the reasoning for that, I think, would probably be poor training, which I think is another thing that the Browns need to fix as of 2 seasons ago, but we aren't going to talk about it. Another part of that is, there's a little bit of distance between a team and their players compared to the older days just because of NFL bartering agreements. I just thought that was interesting. My last stat, just to make us all a little more depressed before we talk DTR, is the Browns are 1-6, which means they are statistically lower than a 1% chance to sniff the playoffs. I know that's not surprising to anyone. I just wanted to put that out there. Matt, what else are you thinking about the Achilles tear, Deshaun Watson, the quarterback situation, the Cleveland Browns as a franchise, Jimmy Haslam as an owner? You name it, you talk it.
Is it too early to get excited for the NFL draft yet, Noah? I mean, we're back to this Cleveland Browns football team.
No, it's not, because I think we're going to see an unloading of players. I think Zadarius Smith is not going to be wearing orange and brown for much longer. I think you could see guys like Greg Newsome not wear orange and brown for much longer as they commit to some of these younger players. And I think that's a good transition to talk about what I have been kind of tossing back and forth in my mind all day. Is who do you think the starting quarterback is for the rest of the season? Now, obviously, DTR had the MRI, and it looks like he should be good to go. Are you rocking with Jameis? Are you rocking with DTR, knowing where we're at in the season?
DTR for multiple reasons.
I'm with you on this. Continue.
I think This is going to sound weird at first, but let me talk. I think Jameis is the better quarterback of the two currently.
100%.
Jameis is going to win us unnecessary games. As I just said, it's time to get excited for the draft, boys. We have our first-round pick again this year. We're hunting for the number one pick in my mind already. DTR gives us the best shot for that, as well as it gives DTR time to get comfortable against NFL defenses, give us a little more to show that he might be the guy or he might be the backup. I mean, he's young, he can only develop, and he gives us the best chance of winning the draft.
Yeah, so I'm with you in terms of at this point, regardless of what the win-loss is, the tanking thought process, whatever you're saying, right? I think the smarter decision is to see what you have in DTR. Obviously, you know kind of what you have in Jameis, but then again, you never know. Geno Smith had a career resurgence and stuff like that. But I lean towards DTR because we've seen flashes from this kid that, you know, it's in there somewhere, but we don't know to what extent. Is that a backup level of flashes where, you know, okay, we can trust him to be on the bench for a while, and if he needs to come in, he can throw, you know, a great 50-50 ball to a Jerry Jeudy, or was it Cedric Tillman? Regardless, in the end zone right after all that went down with Deshaun to then get Nick Chubb into the end zone. But then you also see some gross plays, some interceptions, some, you know, rookie mistakes. He only really had 2 or 3 games last season where he was prepared to be the starter for an NFL team. So to me, I kind of want to see if it's in there, what we got out of him, what we can get out of him, if there is anything in there that is worth it before we go waste a pick on another quarterback and hope that they pan out. I don't want to say waste. I'm being pessimistic. Use a pick on another quarterback to hope that they pan out. You get how this goes. We're just sad, salty Browns fans. That's where I'm at with the Cleveland Browns right now, Matt. What else do you have on your mind with the Brownies before we get going? I'm just looking over my notes real quick. Obviously, the whole situation sucks. I hate that there's a divide between the players and the fans because I think has been a fantastic relationship for like at least the last 15 years or something like that. We'll call it 10. We'll call it around even like the 0-16 season, at least we were still showing up. Like, we knew Kaiser sucked, but like we were just happy to be there, I think, for the most part. Not happy to be here. That's not the right way to put it, but we were at least there were no expectations that year. I mean, we were screaming winning record, potential AFC North, and we can't even score 21 points, and it's week 8 now. I mean, it's week 7 in terms of games for Monday night, but it's week 8 for the Browns, and we can't score over 21 points. I don't think we've scored 21 points.
I haven't scored 20.
Right. Matt, I'm going to switch this over to the silver lining because, yes, the Guardians did lose in 5 to the Yankees, and that sucks. But if you would have told me when I went to opening day and I saw you at opening day that we were going to be in the ALCS and I was going to October baseball and I was going to be having a blast to not 1, not 2, but 3 games, I would have been ecstatic. And I am ecstatic because I got to be there for game 3. But Matt, what are your thoughts about this team moving forward? The Cleveland Guardians obviously eliminated from playoff contention. Let's talk about it.
I think I'm going to be in the majority with this one. When I say that happy-go-lucky, oh, we weren't even supposed to be here and look what we did approach, it's kind of crap in my mind. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I get you on that too. Yeah.
Especially when you look at the ALCS. Should have gone way different. So many of those games we had the lead late, got it to our elite bullpen. And before I even go down this rabbit hole, I want to lead with saying I love the man, and he is still the best closer in baseball in my mind. But it just hurt so much more watching Clase be the one to cost us the games.
Yep.
Obviously, you score more runs earlier or later, you win the game still, but we get it to Clase, it should be the end of the game in our favor. And it went the other way, twice. I mean, we should have won that series. I'll die on that hill.
We could have.
The fact that we were there and so close to the World Series hurts me even more. And I'm not happy with the fact that we just were there. We're not putting a pennant in Progressive for being there. Yeah, we get an AL Central one, but
No, I agree with you, Matt. I think it's tough just because there's so much like BS that we've dealt with that at least we were watching championship baseball is like the coping mechanism right now. And to me, it sucks that we lost because, like I said, I was there for Game 5 Detroit. I was there Game 3 and Game 4 for the ALCS. So I have some happy memories for the one win out of this season, or this series, excuse me, because of John Kenzie Noel, because of David Fry, because of those moments. Like, I shed real tears when that David Fry home run hit the bleachers, man. But with that being said, yeah, you want the big one, but then you sit back and you think, are they ever going to hit it when these teams are able to spend as much as they are, and we have a cheap owner, and we like to do the homegrown thing, and the homegrown thing and the power of friendship is fun when you're winning baseball games, but not when you can't beat the $300 million New York Yankees. So I want to open the question to you just for a second. What free agents do you think is even a possibility? Do you think free agents are a possibility for this roster? The reason I ask this is because during Game 3, the day of Game 3, ESPN sent a push notification basically talking about Juan Soto going to the Cleveland Guardians. Obviously, I think that one might be a little bit of a reach, but I just want to know, do you think they're going to pull a trigger on any free agents, and who you're thinking, Matt?
I think we'll be a little more active than we have been in the past during the free agent period this year. I think our owners have shown, progressively spending a little bit more and more on this team, and it's gotten closer and closer to delivering results. So I did go and look at a few guys that I think we could get. I think we're still going to be looking at a shortstop. As much as Rocchio had a phenomenal October, I think we still have to look that way.
Who are you thinking, Matt?
Upcoming free agents this year, there's two I'm kind of looking at. One is Willy Adames from the Brewers. He's 29 years old, bats right, throws right. He's coming off a really good season. I really don't see this being realistic for Cleveland. He's projected a 6 to 7 year contract worth over $150 million. That's not something we're going to pay another guy, I don't think. I think a more likely shortstop we'd sign would be like Paul DeJong from Kansas City.
Yeah.
He's looking at like 13.9 over 3 years. Obviously, we know about him. We played him. He bat 227, 24 home runs. I wouldn't be mad if we went and got him. The other note, though, I think we'll look at pitchers. There's so many pitchers out there that I don't even really want to throw them out there. There is one name, though, that did catch my eye, Noah.
Oh, God.
Let's bring back Sunshine. Mike Clevenger.
Really? What is he? Did you get the numbers on what they think he'll be commanding contract-wise?
I didn't look into that. He was towards the bottom of the starting pitchers that were going to be available, so I would assume he's not looking at much, knowing he was rotating from bullpen to starting. But, I mean, hey, he played good in Cleveland. Why not see if it's a Cleveland thing for him?
Yeah, it's tough, right? Because, like, if you go make a move at, like, a big name, right? Like, a big name, you think this team could really, like, put it together next year or something like that. But you don't think that they're going to do that. And just because of the Dolans and that kind of thing. It's just tough. The whole thing's tough to me. I wouldn't mind some free agent acquisitions, but knowing how this office works and knowing the sport of baseball, until there's caps and limits on what we can do with these kinds of players and 10-year, $500 million deals, et cetera, I don't see anything really changing, unfortunately, in terms of, acquiring players. Now, I want to ask you this. And if my grandma is listening, I apologize, Lillian. But what are your thoughts on the whole Josh Naylor situation before we wrap this show up? Because he's, he's going to be a free agent after this year, correct?
Yes.
And we have a young guy with a pretty little mustache behind him that, cranked a home run in game 3. What are your thoughts about what we do at first base?
God, I don't know. I don't know.
It depends to me what Josh Naylor wants money-wise, right? I wouldn't mind bringing him back depending on the money, but if it's going to be asinine, anti-Dolan mindset of spending money on baseball players, I'm not upset. I mean, I'm upset because I like Josh Naylor because it's Josh Naylor, don't get me wrong. But Manzardo full-time first base, I'm kind of excited to see that at the same time. He's a fiery little bat, and he can if he gets cracking on both sides of pitching, both left and right, I think he could be a really great first baseman for us in terms of being another solid bat in the lineup. So I was just curious what your thoughts are. If you had to decide right now, I'm putting the gun to your head. What are you doing with first base in Cleveland?
I think I would go give it to the kid, let Manzardo take over.
Yeah. And real quick too, just because we're talking Guardians, there's some young players in this system right now that really excite me too. So we can be down about maybe no free agent spending or we were so close, but who knows when a Chase the Lotter gets called up or a Bazana or something like that. And I don't know if Bazana will be next year for sure, but you get some of these guys called up, man, and you don't know what you have going on. Mixed with, some of the pitchers that we have down there. What's his name who's hurt right now, but who knows what he looks like when he comes back. I can't remember his name right now because I wasn't prepped to talk about prospects. I want some silver lining in this show, damn it, okay? Matt, anything else, Guardians? You have any free agents else on your mind? Perfect. Let's go final thoughts and takes. Matt, what is your final thought and take?
So I kind of had to hold back on the last segment that you were just talking about.
Okay.
Because
go for it.
My hot take of the day, and I know we've talked about him before, Matthew Tugboat Wilson will one day be an MLB All-Star pitcher, and I am buying that All-Star jersey. Book
yeah,
it.
I love Tugboat. I'm ready to go see some more Lake County action next year already because I feel empty without baseball because I sure as shit feel empty watching football right now. My hot take is basketball related. We have the NBA season starting on Wednesday, so expect more coverage about that. Obviously, I'm going to beat around the bush a little bit because I am a Cavs part-time employee, but I will gladly sit here and talk about the product on the court with Matt. Adjustments we might like to see, that kind of thing. I'm excited for this season. Run it back with the core 4, see what we got in them, and then maybe blow some things up at the deadline if you're not liking what you see. And maybe not. Maybe we have 4 All-Stars again. Who knows? My hot take is basketball related, though. I wanted to give Cavs a little shout out since we got the season starting on Wednesday, and I'm super excited for that. But there was some news today. A certain brand that's near and dear to my heart signed a 10-year, 12-year, 10-year, regardless, contract extension with the NBA, the WNBA, the G League, 2K League, blah, 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 blah. Nike is continuing their deal with basketball. And my thought process here is I love Nike. Nike's great. But, man, the jerseys have been so up and down with the NBA over the last couple of years. Can we take a chill pill on the City editions? Like, let's do it like the City Connects. You do the City Connects pretty well, Nike. How about we do like a 3-year rotation before we give a new jersey out? Can we relax on these uniforms a little bit? Now, I do like the design they did with the new Cavs update, not the old Cavs update. But a hot take that isn't really a hot take is less different versions of jerseys, please, for the love of God. Matt, anything else you got to say to the people?
Good to go.
All right, Cleveland, it hasn't been a fun one, but it has been a fun one to vent and have you guys listen. Please hit that subscribe button if you aren't subscribed to us on the YouTube channel at East Bank Sports Show. Check us out on Instagram and TikTok at East Bank Sports Show. Make sure you check out everybody over here at the Fanatical Elves. Make a lot of great content. Shout out John, shout out Lou, shout out Sam, shout out Rod. Bunch of great guys over there making a bunch of great content. We even have Sherry now, who's a girl. Check her out, too. Her show's about the fandom of Cleveland sports, and I love her show. I watch it pretty frequently, so you guys should check that one out as well. Until next time, Cleveland, I'm sorry it hasn't been a fun last couple episodes. It's been a lot of doom and gloom, but hopefully we're looking up. Maybe the Cavs are going on the run of a lifetime, and we are going to get that ring number 2 for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Who knows? I'm just coping with optimism at this point. It's kind of my brand. Until next time, Cleveland, have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you at the office.